Awesome. Well, we're here. How we doing?
Hey.
Oh,
And by the way, Brian, Jamila bought that note off of Notes Direct. So yay. Right?
I did.
That's absolutely right. And that's actually a good segue into one of the questions we had, because someone has to pledge a note, which is the strategy that you used. Do I have to buy it first, meaning use my own money? Do I need $20,000, $30,000 to be able to do this? Or is there a way to use just your investors' funds to buy it? And if I remember correctly, I didn't hear anything about you writing a $30,000 check.
Nope. Honestly, you need to make sure you build rapport with your investors and that they understand that they not necessarily trust you. But what I wrote in the agreement that deposit had to come in first, and then it would, and then gave them a timeline on how the whole process was going to go. And so based on that, he understood that he wasn't going to get his check for another 3 months or so, or, however I did the paperwork, but he understood that. So he as soon as he signed the paperwork, the promissory note and the pledge agreement, he wired it right on over, the whole 30,000. And then that's when I purchased the note for the 27.
I love it. Go ahead, Eddie.
I think you could think in terms of, have you ever bought a house?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to write the check to buy the house, or did the lender provide the money to buy the house? Have you ever bought a car? Yeah. Right? Did you have to write a check for the car, or did the lender provide the money to buy the car? So think in terms of it's the same concept in this.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just another asset, right? And this is one of the things I think a lot of people don't understand about notes, is that a note is just a promise to pay, right? It's the paper side of real estate. Instead of getting the house that, deteriorates over time, you're getting a piece of paper that is backed by and secured by an asset worth more money. And so it's a completely different way to do things. But man, the note business is definitely something to entertain. So Eddie, why don't you tell us a little bit, because this was an interesting use case for a pledge, what are some other ways when someone, as we've obviously seen, who is newer to the business, is doing this? What are some other ways that a pledge is a great strategy to use in the note business?
We talk about buying the whole loan and selling a partial, right? We've talked about that on numerous occasions. That's something, believe it or not, my father-in-law and his partner kind of invented that whole idea in the business 40 years ago, right? So we've done that a lot. It works really well with retirement accounts. But really, I told my audience the other night, I just got a paid in full note that I signed about 5 years ago for almost $12 million. So I borrowed $12 million against notes. And over time, I worked it. And we just paid that loan off less than a month ago. Well, I mean, listen, me, like everybody else, that's where I'm at today. But I started out just like Jamila, where I had one asset or one deal or one. The cool thing about this is that investor, quite honestly, that investor has more money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just an icebreaker to further deals, and it's an icebreaker to do it. So, people kind of forget you can do that. The mortgage banking industry operates, we're borrowing money against notes. Mm-hmm. In fact, the largest bank in the United States that loans money to mortgage lenders is actually based here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Brian, where you and I live. Texas Capital Bank.
Yeah.
They have one client they lend $2 billion to a month. It's pretty big, huh?
Yep.
So it is common in the business. It's, and of course, Jamila got that. When we explained it to her and kind of went through it a time or two, she's like, okay, well, it's just an asset. I'm just borrowing money against an asset, and your lender is secured, right?
It's secured. Yep.
So
it's almost double secure. It's almost double security for my investor, honestly, because they have the pledge on the promissory note. On top of the promissory note, it's pledged with the actual note. So it almost layers and makes it a very, very secure investment for my investor. Yeah.
Yeah. And since you are the investor kind of on the back side, you're waiting for the future, you have an interest in making sure this goes well. And so there is this further level of risk mitigation with your passive investor who's, oh, I'm nervous. What if something goes wrong? You're saying, well, look, I don't get my money until the end. So I'm going to make sure that this goes in the right direction.
And, Jamila did something that was very smart as well. Smart lady is that she took a couple of payments out of that upfront money and she put them to the side that she could continue to make payments if something were to happen, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep.
A little cushion.
Yep. A little bit of cushion.
So when you made a little, you just over borrowed. You didn't really make profit.
Right.
Those are loan proceeds. Those aren't taxable proceeds.
That's right.
Right. But you over borrowed a little bit and you took a little bit of that money, call it $600, and you just put it in an account and you just said, in case the customer who owes money on the real estate note doesn't make his payment, I can make a payment to my lender, and all of a sudden he's not nervous and we're just life's a little smoother, right? Is that your thought?
I think we may have lost her for a minute.
I thought it was me.
It is you, Eddie.
Well, see these comments. She's a rock star, man.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
I mean, like people. We got to have her on again. I mean, she is like.
Yeah. I think what's really important for people to understand too is that, sometimes you hear someone's success story about, oh, I did this deal. Here's a good example. Someone like Eddie Speed gets on a show like this and said, oh yeah, I did a $1 million deal, or I did 10,000 transactions. Like, of course, you're Eddie Speed. You can make that happen. But when you take somebody who's like, I was never in the note business. I didn't know anything about it. It got introduced to me. And once I learned this, all I had to do was go out and take action, apply this information that I've learned. And then, hey, we're back up and running. And now she's doing deals. And you could be in that same spot, right? This really can be simple with a little bit of help.
The gremlins get you, Jamila?
I'm telling you, I'm glad it happened in the after party and not during the other. I was like, gosh, what happened? I'm back now. Okay.
And guys, the great thing about this is that Jamila is starting her own little bank, right? Because she does 1, then she does 2, then she does 10, right? As a friend of ours says, I'll take 10. And all you're doing is just, let's go ahead and tell them the fancy word for this, right? This pledge is really called a hypothecation. Eddie's going to spell that for you in just a minute, guys. But all you're doing is you're just using somebody else's money, and you get to make the arbitrage, the difference between the two, right? And the bigger the deal, Jamila, the more that arbitrage becomes, where you, on some deals, it's a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 deal. Your piece could be, instead of $40 a month, it could be $250 or $300 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beauty of it, I think what I love most about it's a win-win-win-win for everybody. Everybody wins in the deal. They're not getting probably what I'm getting, but I'm the active investor. You're the passive investor. So, it's a lot of different elements to that. But at the end of the day, everybody wins when it comes to notes. And that's what I love about the business.
One thing I was going to make a comment, because I know a good many of Martha's investors. And people kind of think, if I'm going to go borrow money from an investor, he's a passive investor. Or I'm going to go sell them a partial, whatever vehicle, whatever way you paper it, right? What most people don't realize is these are smart, sophisticated people. A lot of them have owned rentals. Mm-hmm. What they have is they don't have access to deal flow, and they don't want access to deal flow.
Good point.
Miller, they want access to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're putting it together. You're providing an easy path, and it lets them sleep at night.
Yeah.
The knowledge reduces the risk in the transaction, and they don't want to take the time to necessarily go get it, especially when you already have it. let's find a way to work together, right?
Yeah. That's definitely been the key. That has definitely been the key.
And a lot of people get a little bit freaked out, Jamila, but well, how many, that they ask you, how many deals have you done? That nobody, the deal spoke for itself, right? The house is worth $43,300. This guy's loaning $30,000 against it. That's a 25% loan to value ratio, or 20, yeah. So, I mean, and ultimately the house is the security against the loan when you look at it, right? So,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So anyway,
well, Jamila, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really great and encouraging for a lot of people, as we see in the comments, to kind of just hear from somebody that, it's very relatable. You're somebody who's just gotten started here recently and you're already going out and taking action. So that's really cool. That it's nice to see somebody put some money in their pocket. It's obviously got to feel good. And so, man, we really appreciate you coming on the show. And for everybody who jumped on, it's always good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. For those of you who are asking about what website I was talking about, it was noteschool.com/TV. That is that's the place you could go if you want to learn a little bit more, even of what Jamila was talking about. So we'll see you guys next week. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you soon.